Applecross is cut off from the rest of the Scottish mainland by a range of mountains. Its main road is frequently closed in bad weather, and yet this small piece of land seems to be awash with archaeology, potentially spanning thousands of years.
Nick Goldthorpe and his family have lived here for over 30 years, and ever since he was a boy he's been playing here among the strange stones and mysterious structures on this site. But now he wants to know more, which is why we're about to unpick this. The remains of what could be a massive 2,000-year-old tower that once dominated the skyline.
As we strip off the turf, it quickly becomes clear this is one of the stoniest landscapes we've ever done.
Isn't this horrible to work?
And our task's been made all the more difficult because of this. An 11,000-volt electricity cable passing directly over the site, which means no matter how much we'd like to use them, mechanical diggers are out of the question. We're looking for dry stone walls here, built on a stony landscape and covered in stony rubble. The challenge isn't so much finding a needle in a haystack as finding a needle in a very big pile of similarly sized needles.
So this one's good, but this stuff isn't any good. Yeah.
So we need to keep digging to see if this circular structure has one wall or two. And at last, it seems that features are emerging from a sea of stones.
Right. I mean, we're beginning to make some sort of sense of it, or we think we are.
Right.
We think that this might be either the inside or the outside of the wall.
Right.
You know, one edge of it, in other words.
Yeah.
And then possibly it looks like we got some of these stones in here that are actually bedded in, can actually interleave and form the core of the wall.
Phil's wall fits in rather nicely with John's geophys results and gives us a possible exterior wall line for the tower. To qualify as one of these high-status brochs, the structure has to have two concentric outer walls with staircases and corridors in between them. And we found bits of wall in Matt and Bridges trenches that suggest we could be looking at the footprint of a substantial tower.
It's 18 metres in diameter. The walls in the trenches match exactly with the geophysics. That's a big structure up there. It's got to be a broch.
Let's liberate some more dirt.
And Bridges' trench is looking promising too.
We've got the three stones that we got yesterday with the facing on this side. And we're interpreting that at the moment as the external face of the external wall of this possible broch feature.
So it's sort of the massive stones like we've got over there, aren't they, on the edge?
They're
very big.
Yeah, quite similar. And then if you come to here, it looks like we've got good packing within a wall.
Yeah.
And then we thought yesterday we might have another face to the wall.
Right, where this line is across here?
Yeah, we've got these three stones basically running straight up towards you, parallel to those ones there.
The outer wall is substantial, well over a metre thick. But Bridge and Andy think they've also uncovered another similarly sized internal wall with a potential corridor running between them.
I've actually just found this piece of pottery in the gallery just over there, and it's actually probably dates the 2nd century BC to 1st century AD, so perfect for the date of broch. So,
Can we now say what the Iron Age structure was that we're currently standing on?
it was a broch.
Yes!
Join a thriving worldwide community of Time Team fans on Patreon.
Our new target is to reach 15,000 worldwide supporters on Patreon by the end of 2025. This will enable us to continue expanding the Time Team world with more digs and greater access than ever before.
Well, finding the last resting place of a Roman commander doesn't happen every day, and I have to admit the geophysics results are some of the most striking we've ever seen on Time Team. So, with a strong sense of anticipation, we open our third trench over what looks like one of the walls of our possible mausoleum.
That's almost exactly the line of the wall where that sheep track is.
It's a base. Now, does that mean it's inverted?
We may just have found evidence of a burial because this pot looks like a cremation urn.
Yeah, it is inverted.
It is inverted, isn't it?
Did you? I can feel it goes right the way round.
Incredibly thin-walled. Yeah. I mean, I'm amazed at just how well thrown it is. I mean, look at the thinness of those walls.
Yeah.
It's wafer thin. It's a beautiful piece of potting. It really is. I mean, do you reckon if we got this roadside mausoleum job, is this going to be a cremation?
Well, to have a complete vessel placed upside down in this kind of position, the most obvious thing is that you would have a cremation burial in it, but you can't actually see anything at the moment.
We've now uncovered this fantastic wall, and we need to work out how it relates to our potential cremation urn.
So that's cleaning it really nicely now, isn't it? With that should be the inner face, according to the geophys of whatever we've got here.
I'll take your word for that.
So what we're going to do now, we've got this vessel here. In fact, we've got slightly more than one vessel. We've actually got two.
Cool. That's something.
They're placed inside this building. So what we want to do is see how they relate to that return wall as it runs along there. So we're going to strip away a little bit more of the ground to that side.
So you're going to take this part of the trench from here back this way, yeah?
Yeah, so it's going to go out about 2 metres in that direction so we can find where that wall is and exactly how they sit in relationship to it.
This new one looks even in better nick than the other one and much bigger too. So what do you think the story of this trench is so far?
Well, this is starting to look like a possible mausoleum. So we've got a standing building which will have been there for quite a long time, inside which potentially burials have been made, cremation burials, which is what this may be. But we don't quite know how they relate to each other date-wise.
This is the first row of mausoleums to be found in Britain for 150 years, and only the second ever to be discovered. It's a find of national significance, and with the strange circular feature and Jackie's pots, this trench promises to get better and better.
Jackie, this is the longest running story in the history of Time Team. 26 hours later, you still haven't lifted those pots.
Yeah, unfortunately, the story keeps changing, and it's changed yet again. Believe it or not, this rather pale material you can see here, that's somebody's skull, or at least what's left of it. This is very, very acid soil, so it's more or less dissolving. And those are bits of tooth that are in there. And I can just about see the cut of a grave going through here now. So it looks like we've got a burial, an inhumation burial that's been made with the head here, and the pots have been placed up by the head. So those pots have been placed as grave goods in with this individual. Oh, look at that. Oh, there's a crack down this side, but that's it otherwise.
Oh, yes.
Phew.
The two pots date to the late 2nd or early 3rd centuries and were probably filled with offerings to the deceased, scented oils or wine. Inside the central mausoleum, we've found the wall we were looking for. It seems that this was an internal wall and not a separate mausoleum. With a beautifully crafted entrance, columns and fine stonework, it's becoming clear this was built for a very important person, possibly for a general.
If you'd like to see more episodes like this, you can make it happen.
Our new target is to reach 15,000 worldwide supporters on Patreon by the end of 2025. This will enable us to continue expanding the Time Team world. Enjoy front row seats for the greatest show on Earth and under it.
Yesterday, our investigation into a Roman site took a new turn.
I wonder what the hell it is. Now!
We began to uncover evidence of a huge prehistoric settlement.
If you get that loose up, but gently, gently.
It could help us make sense of the settlement that was still here in the Roman period. And with time ticking on, we've frantically started opening new trenches. We started digging what Francis hopes is a Bronze Age barrow and grave. And we opened a trench over what seems to be a huge Iron Age enclosure ditch surrounding the site.
I see Ian's doing all the work as usual, Kerry. What's actually happening here?
Well, he's doing very well. I'm just keeping an eye on him, but he's looks like he's getting towards the bottom of the ditch. But we think, if you see that dark patch there, it looks like it might have some sort of pit.
It looks pretty massive, doesn't it? I mean, that could be a huge post hole or something like that. Is there anything like that on the geophys, John?
No, not really. All I can see is the ditch. I mean, having said that, you talked about this curving entrance. Now that looks as though there might be two large
doesn't it?
Pits there. I mean, it'd be nice if you could envisage a whole line of post holes down the bottom of the ditch.
What a sort of huge palisade.
Well,
well, it's a possibility, isn't it?
If there was a palisade here, it suggests a high-status Iron Age settlement. This might explain why people were still living in Wickenby in Roman times. With only a few hours to go, we've at last shed light on the Roman story of our site. But Francis is still so determined to reveal the prehistoric story, he's digging the enclosure ditch himself.
is it a post hole? A post pit?
Yes. Back here it is. Going down there.
That's massive, isn't it?
It's very big, John. It's very big.
But you're still not at the bottom of the ditch?
No, and the ditch is rather wider than we thought. It's at least 3 metres. Yeah, move over
So
a bit.
Edge here?
Yeah, from there to where Ian is. I mean, that's a big feature.
Yeah, but any dating?
Well, yes. This post has been dated by pottery. This stuff here, and that's a cordon jar, cordon bowl, late Iron Age, so that's about the time of Christ, roughly. Now, that post hole is cut into a completely filled up ditch, and we've got one bit of pottery out of it. It's not much to write home about, but I've shown it to our pot specialist, and this is, I think, early Iron Age pottery. So my bet is that this enclosure ditch was dug sometime in the middle of the first millennium BC, so any time between, say, 300 to 500 BC.
So this post, dating to about the time of Christ, was pushed through a ditch that was created up to 500 years earlier. Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses and behind-the-scenes insights.